Hola clase, this is a brief explanation of the imperfect subjunctive. Uso número uno. Like the three-part sandwich subjuntivo that we did last semester, we have the similar format for the imperfect subjunctive, but both of the verbs that we have in the typical sandwich subjuntivo in this sentence will change to the past tense. So one of our most typical sentences that we had in the first unit of the present subjunctive was Yo quiero que me hagas un sándwich. Yo quiero is the subjunctive trigger. Que is the word in the middle, and then hagas here is the subjunctive. Obviously here it's in the present tense. Notice here this is the present tense trigger, then the word que, and then the subjunctive in the present tense as well. When you have the whole thing presente, then it'll look like a present tense trigger plus que plus the present tense of the subjunctive. So what happens when you, instead of saying, I want you to make a sandwich for me, maybe you want to say, I wanted you to make a sandwich for me. So then you're going to take the yo quiero, the trigger, and make that into a past tense trigger, and you're going to take me hagas and make that into the subjunctive in the past tense. So then you will still have a trigger, but here the trigger is the past tense trigger. We have to use quería instead of quise here to mean wanted, because you know quise means tried. We still have the que in the middle, and then hicieras is the subjunctive, but here it's the past tense subjunctive, which we have to call the imperfect subjunctive, the subjuntivo imperfecto. So you see here that the uses are not different. You have yo quiero que me hagas un sándwich, and then change both of these to the past, and you have yo quería que me hicieras un sándwich. So the same uses that you have seen in the present subjunctive with the sandwich subjuntivo, you will see in the past tense subjunctive as well, but here you'll have a past trigger, which will make you have a past tense subjunctive, which we call the imperfect subjunctive. So a quick review of the formation of the imperfect subjunctive as far as conjugations. First, you're going to begin with the ellos preterite form of the verb. So in the example that we just did, the verb hacer would be hicieron. Then you see that you drop the ron at the end of the word, which is step 2. So we have the root hicier without the R. And then we add the endings, which the yo, to, and lao said form are ra, ras, ra. So here we have hicieras for the to form. The full listing of forms for endings are here: ra, ras, ra, ramos, rais, ran. The only one that needs an accent is the one here in front of the R in nosotros that gets an extra accent. Some students like to chant to remember the conjugations Ron is gone, ra, 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 again and again and again, sometimes with pom-poms in their hands, like a cheerleader, ra, ras, ra, or maybe just ra, ra, ra is fine also. And if you can conjugate this and use the subjunctive imperfect correctly, then you'll feel as happy and cheerful as these cheerleaders here. Okay, so uso número uno, which is the three-part format of the sandwich subjuntivo, más ejemplos. Okay, so here we have another sentence. Es necesario que escriban claramente. Es necesario que, and then escriban will be our subjunctive. Right now, everything is in the present tense. So I'm going to turn both of these into past tenses. This will still be the trigger. Que will stay the same. And the subjunctive will become the subjunctive imperfect when I rewrite it. So this sentence then turns into, from it is necessary to it was necessary. And we could use era or fue depending on the situation. I would probably use era, but fue could also work. The K is going to stay the same. And then here, escriban was the present subjunctive, but now we're going to say escribieran. Claramente stays the same. For the conjugation of escribieran, we started with escribieron, then we dropped the ron, and we added ran in this case for it was necessary that you all, or they, wrote clearly. So here we still have the trigger. Era or fue necesario, we still have the K, and then here we still have the subjunctive, but it's just the past tense subjunctive. El tercer ejemplo, here we have me alegro de que vengas a mi fiesta. So first, me alegro is going to be our trigger. The de que kind of goes together, and then vengas is going to be the subjunctive. So I'm going to turn both of those into the past tense. So this sentence turns into me alegraba. I would probably use the imperfecto. The de que same stays the same, and then vinieras is going to be the subjunctive. So you should still see here that you still have the three parts, the same ones we had in the sandwich subjuntivo, the trigger, the que, and then the subjunctive. Okay. Uso número dos, now that you've mastered uso número uno, sandwich subjuntivo, another way that you can use the imperfect subjunctive is in sentences that are contrary to fact. In the previous sentences, we used the imperfect subjunctive with a past tense like preterite imperfect, although it could be other past tenses as well. In the contrary to fact sentences, usually the imperfect subjunctive is paired up. Imperfect subjunctive. Put the imperfect subjunctive there. Is paired up with the conditional. So we'll see how that works in these sentences. So here, si yo tuviera más dinero. So tuviera is going to be our imperfect subjunctive. Si tuviera más dinero, if I had more money, I would buy you a yacht. So the one that is conditional is te compraría. This means I would buy. So you just take, as you know, in the conditional, you take all of the verb comprar, and then you add the endings, ia, ias, ia, etc. So this one is just a straight translation, I would buy. This one a little bit harder to figure out. This comes after the word si, and it talks about something that is sort of in an alternate reality. Didn't spell that exactly right. So an alternate reality, something that does not exist, something perhaps that is contrary to fact. So I don't have more money. I have the amount of money that I have. So in an alternate reality, though, in an alternate reality, I would be able to buy you a yacht. But right now, it's just something that I'm pretending that I can do, something that I'm imagining. It's my alternate reality. It is something that's contrary to fact. But if I had more money, I would buy you a yacht. So here we have the imperfect subjunctive in the first part for tuviera. And then the conditional is represented here, I would buy you a yacht. Altogether, si yo tuviera más dinero, te compraría un yate. This use is different because it doesn't really have a trigger with it. When we have si yo tuviera más dinero, the si is an indicator, because you're talking about something that's an alternate reality, but it doesn't have the same sort of triggers as quiero que, es necesario que, me alegro de que. It has the si there, and then it's asking you to think about what would happen. And so in that case, we pair that with would buy, something in the conditional. Número dos, si fuera una princesa de Disney, sería Mulan. If I were a Disney princess, which, contrary to fact, I'm not a Disney princess. If I were a Disney princess, I would be Mulan. So here we have the imperfect subjunctive, again, represented after the word si, and then we have the conditional, I would be Mulan. Número tres, aquí, si pudiéramos salir de la escuela, if we could leave school, iríamos a Starbucks. We would go to Starbucks. So this, again, pudiéramos is the nosotros form. It shows an alternate reality. We can't leave school. We're stuck here. until the last day of our last exam before summer break. So this shows something that's not true right now. It's contrary to fact. But if this situation were true, in this case, I would go, in this case, we would go to Starbucks. We've got a plan for that alternate reality.